Yeah, I think today, especially for the past year, pretty much solo poly, and I'm into anything that is. I'm kind of afraid of attachment right now, a little sensitive to it after my last relationship, and just trying to come back to myself still, and focusing more on that inner circle family bonds that not doesn't necessarily have to have a romantic angle to it. I just want closeness. Yeah, focusing on that a lot. And I'm very cuddly and close to all my friends and affectionate and inviting that as well.
Welcome to Normalizing Non-Monogamy, the podcast where we interview incredible people from all over the world to hear their personal journeys of self-discovery through the lenses of love, sex, and relationships.
Our mission is to show people that they're not alone and to inspire them to embrace their true selves so that together we can open minds and live authentically without shame.
We believe everyone's story is powerful and beautiful, yet it's important to remember that everyone does life a little bit differently and that the views and opinions expressed by our guests do not necessarily reflect our own.
Additionally, we aren't doctors. Please consult a medical professional for anything regarding your health that you might learn about on the show. Enjoy!
Welcome to episode 387. We're Finn and Emma, and today we have a great conversation with Holly. Holly grew up in a very religious and closed-minded environment, as you'll see, and rebelled from that in her 20s.
Yeah, she fell in love, married her girlfriend, and a few years later, they bought one-way tickets out of the U.S. to go explore the world and learn about other ways of living. And since then, Holly's been on a journey of figuring out how relationships and connection work best for her, doing a whole bunch of healing and self-discovery along the way. And we just absolutely love this conversation. We love her openness to just exploring life in different cultures and just different ways of doing.
We also love that Holly brings a sense of adventure to her work, including as executive director of the SoulPlay Festival. We were so lucky to attend SoulPlay last year. It was incredible. And we're going to be there this year. Holly will talk more about it in the episode, as you'll see. But SoulPlay Festival is a multi-day gathering focused on heart-opening connection, personal expansion, and play. Everyone comes together as a community to connect, explore, grow, and play through curated workshops, activities, and spaces designed to gently challenge comfort zones and encourage vulnerability. It's about 2 hours north of San Francisco, June 12th to the 15th, 2025. We would absolutely love to have you come join us.
Yeah, we're going to be there running a workshop, actually multiple workshops.
Yes.
One of them, we're going to be doing an in-person version of our virtual speed friending, sort of as a way to help people come together, break the ice at the beginning of the weekend. And we're also doing a workshop called, well, we've done it virtually as well, our Is There a Right Way to Do Non-Monogamy workshop. We're doing that in person. So we're super stoked and we'd love to have you come join us. If you use the links in the show notes to get yourself a ticket, you can save yourself $100 up until April 19th. So that's about 10 days from now if you're listening on the day this came out. And we also wanted to tell you, if you want to learn a little bit more about SoulPlay, again, Holly's going to talk about it, but last year on episode 333, we had Romy come on the podcast. Holly mentions Romy later in the episode, but Romy was sort of the originator, the creator of SoulPlay. And yeah, so you get to hear it straight from him. So yeah, we're super excited. We cannot wait to be there, and we hope to see you all there as well.
A quick reminder, links to SoulPlay, as well as all of Holly's work, are over in the podcast show notes on our website, normalizingnonmonogamy.com, or you can get there from the links in your podcast player as well. For anyone who's a premium subscriber, we'll jump right into the interview with Holly now. And for anyone else, we're going to go through a few announcements. First up, if you're not familiar with the premium subscription, it's a way to skip these announcements up front. Don't worry, we still share important dates of upcoming events in the outro, but you can sign up for the premium subscription over on our website, normalizingnonmonogamy.com. Scroll down on the homepage. Links to sign up are right there for only $4 a month.
Next up, we want to tell you about some exciting changes and some new things happening in our community, our virtual community, which we tell you about every week. So we're not going to belabor that too much. But the big change we wanted to tell you all about this week is that over the last few months, we've been hosting virtual workshops in the community. We've had different educators coming in to teach on topics about shame, jealousy, relationship repair, and so much more. And those workshops were, again, always just available to people in our community, but they also had an additional cost. But the change that we've made is that now the workshops are included in the community membership. So for just $8 a month, you get all of the things we tell you about every week. You get access to our Mighty Networks app. We have monthly community calls. We have in-person retreats. And now you also get these virtual workshops, all for just $8 a month. So we would love, love, love to have you come check out the community. You can find out more information under the community tab of our website. And if you want to see full descriptions of all of the workshops we have planned coming up for the rest of the year, they're all listed on that community page. And there is a link there that will take you to full descriptions of everything.
Yes, we've been working really hard on putting together all of these workshops. We're excited about the lineup this year. So go check them out and come join us. You can find out more again over on the community tab of our website. Next up, we wanted to remind all of you about our favorite way to get tested for STIs. It is stdcheck.com. Every week I practice saying that slower, and now I'm getting really slow at it.
That was so slow.
stdcheck.com. I used to say it really fast and no one could understand me. Anyway, it is our favorite way to get tested for STIs. It is a service that we've been using for years. We highly encourage you to check it out and use it as well. It is easy and it's discreet. It's a great way to know your sexual health status. By using the links over on the resources tab of our website, you can save $10, making a 10-panel test only $129. And you support the podcast. So thank you for doing that. We really appreciate it.
And the last thing we wanted to remind you all of is that we absolutely love to hear from you. If you have any feedback for us, you have questions for us, or maybe you want to come on the show to share your story, please send us an email, send us a voicemail. You can find the information to do so under the Contact Us tab of our website. We would love to hear from you.
And with that, let's go and talk with Holly.
Welcome to the podcast, Holly. We're super excited to talk today. We know you a little bit. We've met you in person. We met you last year at SoulPlay. We're going to meet you again this year at SoulPlay, but we're excited to chat today. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited too.
Yeah, we would love for you to start just by introducing yourself.
Okay. Hi, y'all. Yeah, and you could see I said y'all. I am from the South. My name is Holly. I currently live in Berkeley, and I am the executive director for SoulPlay Festival, which I've been doing for 10 years.
10 years this year. This is the 10-year anniversary.
10 years. Yeah, this is our 10-year anniversary. I can't believe time goes so fast.
Right?
Yeah, it's wild, right?
Yeah.
Well, we're excited to dig into all things SoulPlay in a bit, but first we get to talk to you about you and your life and your relationships. And so maybe we start there. Where are you relationally today? What does your ecosystem, your relationships look like for you today?
Yeah, I think today, especially for the past year, pretty much solo poly, and I'm into anything that is. I'm kind of afraid of attachment right now, a little sensitive to it after my last relationship, and just trying to come back to myself still, and focusing more on that inner circle family bonds that doesn't necessarily have to have a romantic angle to it. I just want closeness. Yeah, focusing on that a lot. And I'm very cuddly and close to all my friends and affectionate and inviting that as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I love that too, because that can sort of, I don't want to say necessarily take the place, but it can, right? If you're not looking or you're even afraid or you've come out of some tough situations, right? Where you're like, I don't need or want somebody who's like romantically entwined, but I can still get some touch. I can still get some intimacy without it having to like escalate her up to, some deep partnership.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. With my upbringing, I was brought up in a very religious, closed-minded, monogamous, unhealthy partnerships is what I see it as. So really what my heart wants and like what my conditioning tells me I want, I'm still deconstructing that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, which leads perfectly into the next part. Your background and kind of like where did deconstructing some of that start for you?
Wow. Well,
Which
I
is not
grew
a
up-
big question, by the way.
It's not a big question at all. Yeah. Easy. My journey to this self-discovery was slow and confusing, and I think that's pretty typical. I had pretty low confidence most of my life and most of my younger life. And I rebelled from that strict religious upbringing somewhere in my late teens. And as you do when you're that constricted and brainwashed in religion, I went way to the other and healthy side of things. And my 20 was about exploration. And I'm like, I don't care. I'm not going to get hurt. This is not going to affect me. It's just fun. And yeah, that stuff sticks with you, you know,
Yeah.
it was really fun. And maybe it wasn't the wisest thing. And it was part of my journey.
Yeah.
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 Well, we've talked to so many people who have such a similar trajectory, and the religion, I think specifically, it shames people into conforming, and then when people decide, I can't live like this anymore, right? It's the pendulum swings like so far to the other side, it just like smashes through the wall and out, and you're just like, well, I'm just going to do whatever. You've not been taught anything about how to like take care of yourself, how to move through that world. And so it's just like, I feel like it's a whole bunch of people who like break out and then they're like, oh, we don't know what to do now, but we're out here and
Right.
we're just going to explore and figure out who we are. And that's a scary place to land in your early 20s. I mean,
Yeah.
shit, the world's scary as it is when you're leaving home and going to wherever life takes you after you move out.
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely use sexuality to find belonging because I didn't feel belonging in my birth family, my blood family. And so for a while I used sexuality to find that, to have that in my life. And then I fell deeply in love. And everything seemed really great for the first 3 or 4 years in that. And it was a monogamous relationship. And
And this was in your 20s too, right?
this was in my 20s, yeah. And even in that relationship, even in madly in love, I still had attractions to other people. And I still had curiosity and the shame that I had for like even flirting with other people or getting close to other people. It just didn't feel allowed. There was no room for it. So much so, I was with a woman and she asked me to marry her. And I said yes, and we moved in that direction. And as soon as she proposed and I said yes, she's like, "Okay, you can no longer consider yourself bisexual because you'll be married to me. You'll be with me for the rest of your life. I'm a woman, so therefore you are now a lesbian." And I'm like, "Wait, what? Is that how this works?" I don't know if I agree to this.
Wow.
So we went forward with the wedding, and I like because of my upbringing, I didn't question things. I'm just like, well, I love this woman. I guess this is what it's supposed to be. And of course, from then on, we just started going separate ways. And because I didn't have the communication and the sharing of feelings, that history of doing that well, we just yeah, spread apart.
I would also imagine like you're untangling the upbringing, but then you decide to marry a woman, which brings about its own difficulty in this culture, right? Especially
Oh my
coming from the
gosh.
background you did. So it makes sense that you're like, oh, well, this I'm already doing this one thing that but from many people is viewed as like not as great, like unfortunately. So like you're pushing against the norms there. And
Yeah.
to push against the norms outside of that is even more difficult.
Yeah, I didn't even know what polyamory was. I didn't even know you could do that in a good way.
Right.
And yeah, it was hard just to be with a woman. Like, it took months for my family to even talk to me after they learned that that was the direction I was going. And with her family, even after 4 years, we weren't allowed to be affectionate with each other. I was just her good friend, you know? And like to live this false life, it just seems so ridiculous.
Well, especially when you're sort of just broken out, right? You
Right.
just come out of it and then wow. Wow. Well, what comes next for you? How now you're in a monogamous, you've become a lesbian overnight. And where does life take you
In a
from there?
monogamous relationship, yeah.
Well, that relationship was not all bad. Like I said, it was really good. And what we did together, we were living in New Orleans at the time. We met shortly after Katrina. After 3 years of basically living together, we both had our careers. I was in banking and she was in marketing. And I could see my next promotion and my next promotion and like, whoa, this is going to be our lives. And luckily, she was also wanting to go on a different path. So it's really hard to change your life. And it's really hard to do it alone. So I'm so grateful that I had her to like do this step. So we decided to leave our jobs. We quit our jobs. We sold everything we owned and we bought a one-way ticket out of the country. And that was nearly 15 years ago. And it kind of started me on this, like, I was looking for community. I was looking for other ways of life and other ways of relating. Didn't exactly know what I was looking for. And it took a while to get away from that corporate structured world. And eventually I landed on Copenhagen in Thailand.
Okay.
And I don't know if you've ever been to this island, but it was kind of like the universe is so funny at how it does things. So this island, it is known for its full moon parties.
Yeah, yeah.
Mhm,
So
mhm,
like
yeah.
30,000 people a month travel to this island for debauchery.
Yep.
And like, let's see how much we could drink and drugs. And then the other half of the island was yoga, detox, and tantra. So
Supply and demand, baby. Supply
Yeah,
and demand.
right.
and it felt like this world was in front of me, this world that I was trying to leave, and this world that I was interested in, but I felt like I didn't belong. And I lived there for about a year, just like kind of afraid to go into either of these lives. But eventually, I jumped into yoga, and that was my entryway into just some other way of life that opened up other questions. I went to a yoga teacher training and just got my mind blown because they did talk about sacred sexuality and ecstatic dance and all these tools that I had no idea with my closed upbringing that any of this was even going on and possible. So it kind of just opened my eyes to other things.
Yeah.
Um,
Wow.
yeah.
And so I'm curious, at that point, it sounds like, well, back up a little bit. Making the decision, we've been there where you sell everything, buy a one-way ticket out of the country, and you're like, here we go. It does make a difference to have a partner with you.
It's
Like
huge.
to have someone with you. It makes a huge
Yeah.
difference. So that's a big step. And I'm grateful you two were able to do that together and do something that both of you felt was the best thing for you.
Yeah.
And during your travels, did the two of you stay together? Or did you kind of go
We
your separate ways?
Yeah, we traveled together for a while. The first year was all in New Zealand. We bought a van and we traveled North and South Island, and we got odd jobs here and there just to see other ways of life and help our finances go further. So we did seasonal work, and one of those jobs was to help a grassroots music festival. So that was the beginning of my festival producing career. And funny enough, she now has residency in New Zealand and she's still running that festival.
Oh my gosh.
Wow,
Yeah.
that's amazing.
So we went through New Zealand, and then I did a year traveling the Gulf Coast for right when my visa expired in New Zealand. I did the Gulf Coast oil spill, and I traveled around supporting that cleanup. And then we spent a year traveling through Southeast Asia after that because I had to get away from America and corporate culture. I'm like,
Cleaning up oil spills will do that to you, I imagine. Yeah.
Yeah, and all the bureaucracy involved in that, and like the greed, and it was just really gross. So we ended up spending a year traveling through Southeast Asia after those other adventures. During the oil spill, and that time is when our relationship really started to dissolve. And then when we were going through Southeast Asia, we were doing a lot of hopping to many different countries and places, which kind of supports, like, we were trying to find some community that we liked and resonated with, but we were also in like conflict, really. So we never really found a place. We would go someplace and like, it was uncomfortable. So let's move on to the next place a few weeks later. So when you're in constant motion like that, you don't have to focus on what you're sitting with and how uncomfortable it is. So we lasted.
Can confirm.
Yeah. We lasted a year doing that and finally made our way to Kopangan in Thailand. And we found a project there that we resonated with, and we supported it for a while. But once we settled down there, that's when we're like, hey, it's still uncomfortable. What are we doing here?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it took years, but we got there.
Yeah. Yeah. But it sounds like in those years, well, up until that last year, there was a lot of really great things from that relationship.
Oh, it was amazing. Yeah.
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 Yeah, I love that. I love the just what you talk about. Like, it's so relatable. We went through so many of those same, we were moving all the time. You're constantly readjusting to a new place, and you're learning a new culture and maybe a new language. And so there's not a whole lot of time to sit around and be like, how's that relationship doing?
Right.
You're just like, survive, survive, survive. Okay, new city, survive, survive, survive. Yeah. Yeah.
Mhm.
And okay, so you find yourself then in Thailand, sort of now kind of on your own, jumping into yoga and branching out. And
Yeah,
where
because you two did separate when you were there.
Yeah, yeah, we separated there and then started my solo journey, basically. And how I do things, the Holly way, is diving in the deep end. So once I got a taste of sacred sexuality and this Tantra world, I'm like, yeah, there's a lot of healing that I need to do there. I'm very interested about what's going on there. So what do? I found a new project to support, and I ended up moving in with a community and a narcissist sex and relationship coach on the big island of Hawaii. And so, yeah,
probably
I
wasn't
just dove
advertised like that on their website, though, I imagine. No,
no.
typically not. Yeah.
Yeah, so that was my deep dive into this um poly world, I guess. And people warned me at the time. They're like, Holly, is this really a good idea? And when someone tells you not to do something, well, me,
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
it makes me
often
want to
makes you-
do it
yes.
even more.
Yes. I think
I'm
for
like,
a
no,
lot of
I can
people,
handle
that's the
this.
thing.
Yeah.
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 I got this. I can handle it. Yeah, but you don't know what you don't know,
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And even that relationship, I don't it wasn't all bad.
Mhm.
It haunted me for many years later, but we actually produced my first festival, and that is how I came to be a part of SoulPlay, because people knew me from that event, and then Romy called me to join SoulPlay too. So it's not all bad. I did learn a lot, but it took a lot of years to lick those wounds.
Yeah.
Totally. Well, and
Yeah.
so you're living in community now. Like, it sounds like maybe for the first time you're living in a group of people. Is that
In
where
Hawaii.
in Hawaii?
Yeah.
In Hawaii, yeah.
Is that where sort of the non-monogamy starts to come in, and you start to learn about other ways of relating than not necessarily just the heteronormative, but just the mononormative ways that maybe had been?
Yeah. Yeah, and my first few relationships, they were the most toxic of my life, actually. These
In the
people who
community. Yeah.
yeah,
Or
um,
adjacent, like living in Hawaii.
living in Hawaii, and actually someone I lived with in Thailand who followed me to Hawaii, or I followed him, I guess. But both of these first two people who were supposed to be introducing me to this world of non-monogamy, I wouldn't call them very ethical, So I was not learning from the best people. It was really interesting. They both wanted, they were okay with dating other people, but they were not okay with me dating other people. And
Never heard that before. That's interesting.
yeah, I'm like, wait, is that how this is supposed to work? It just didn't feel like a very good example. And now I'm a part of better communities and I get to see better examples. But back then I didn't know, I thought this was just how it is.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's really hard to be introduced to non-monogamy in that way of because you don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, and I think we've heard too that similar threads come out of like the kink and BDSM worlds where somebody's like, okay, I guess I'm a sub, and then the DOMs are like, this is how you do it, and they're just like, okay, I don't know, I'm just gonna that's what they told me. And so when you're landing somewhere new and you don't have a whole lot of support that's telling you, hey, that's not okay. Like, it's, what else are you going to do? You don't know any better.
Right, right. Plus, I'm still fresh from my previous life of not questioning things, just accepting the status quo.
Right.
So I'm like, oh, wait, it doesn't have to be that way.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and as you're exploring that, even though it sounds like you weren't kind of allowed to be dating, did the idea or the concept of it as you were exploring it, did it start to feel like, oh, this is me?
No, I think in some ways I'm still healing from it. So after those two relationships, all the relationships I came into after that, I guess I stepped into accepted more monogamous lifestyle, and I was scared of the polyamorous lifestyle.
Yeah.
So with each new partner that I would get attached to, instead of starting from the beginning, okay, we're going to be ethically non-monogamous. My fear and uncertainty about how that would be is like, no, let's build a good foundation and like trust in monogamish,
Mm-hmm.
and we'll open up later once we're more comfortable.
Yeah.
But for the next 3 or so relationships, we never got to that open space because we could never form that solid foundation. So that strategy didn't work either, but I learned a lot through that as well.
Yeah. Well, and it
Yeah.
sounds like your vision wasn't, I want to be with you and only you and shut out the rest of the world, but like, let's create some stability, some security, and then figure out how we want to explore together while also giving us our individuality in that space.
Yeah, totally.
And that was like you starting to be exposed to polyamory and entering those first couple relationships. That was a little over a decade ago. Am I getting the timing right ish?
Yeah, so I guess 2013 maybe. So yeah, a decade ago.
Yeah.
Is when I first started delving into it.
Yeah. Yeah. And then to go through all of that. So like this journey you're just describing right now of like quote unquote figuring it out is over the course of about 10 years. That's a long time to like
Yeah.
to be trying different things and just seeing how it feels. And like I don't know, it makes sense after those first couple experiences to be afraid of of that. I'm curious in that journey, how did you see yourself grow throughout that time? Because clearly you're in a different spot today. That's a big question as well, but I'm just curious.
Yeah. Well, those first toxic relationships, I I see now, I didn't see then. I see how I was using these two people to create a sense of belonging into a community that I didn't feel like I belonged to or I had any right to be in, which is totally false, right? We all belong, but I thought I needed them to be included. So that's what I learned from those. That stuck with me a little bit. I was still like using my partners to get something that I felt I didn't have or couldn't get myself. So that was part of my learning journey. Like, oh, I am looking for something outside of myself instead of finding it inside of myself. So that was definitely part of the journey. And then after that, once I started understanding that, then it goes to the attachment dynamics and like, oh, I see my attachment dynamics now. And that's what I get to work with now. I skew more to the avoidance side because I have been independent most of my life, not knowing how to talk to my family, not feeling a closeness, a relationship with them. I've had to do it on my own a lot. So it is really hard to let someone in, not only after that family upbringing, but all like diving on the deep end and getting so hurt and confused. Like, my poor heart is tender now.
Yeah. Yeah.
Of course it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and so like you said, you kind of you dive all in. That's the Holly way. And you said then that there was the next three relationships, you never really got to the place of the monogamish that maybe you were interested in. And I'm curious, did you start to get there and as you came out of those partnerships and moved forward?
Um, it was never consistent.
Yeah.
I would go through moments in time of like, oh, this feels good. Maybe this is going to work. And then something would flip and I'm like, oh no, this is not going to work. So it was a lot of flipping back and forth and still in uncertainty. And I guess that's the way in learning,
Yeah.
it's relationships are not easy, whether they're monogamous or polyamorous. It takes a lot of work and learning and unlearning.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Were you seeing like did the monogamish or non-monogamy for you, was it even like I don't want to say a goal, but was it something you were like hoping to experience and do, or was it sort of like a byproduct of, well, maybe we get secure and comfortable and then it's okay if we go there, or was it sort of like I would really love to get there?
It's definitely a curiosity
Yeah.
and a want to get there because the examples I see, like monogamy just doesn't make sense to me. When I hear the vows that I made at my wedding and other people make, I'm like, that feels like the most absurd thing in the world to me. Yes, I see keeping people, like people staying in each other's lives for their whole life, but the relationship has to change in some way. It just feels quite impossible to say, we are going to be in this romantic partnership our whole lives and it's just going to be us. That does not make sense to me. So ethical non-monogamy, I have to make it make sense somehow because the monogamy way doesn't work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
for me.
Yeah.
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 Totally. Well, and I'm curious how that sort of comes to where today uh, you said solo polyamory, and I'm curious what you're sort of creating for yourself in solo polyamory, because I know that's a if we went and polled 20 people, what does solo polyamory mean to you? You'd have probably
Yeah.
25 different answers out of 20 people. So I'm curious what that sort of feels like and is for you.
Yeah, it's a good question because there could be a lot of different answers. So, what it is to me and how I understand it for my life where I am dating. I have multiple s- partners, lovers, and friends of different varieties that I see on a regular basis, but I don't have to check in with them. It's not deep enough where I basically check in with myself first and I put myself first, which I think is healthy in this stage of where I'm at in healing and figuring things out. So it means I'm clear with all the partners that I bring in about what level of commitment and attachment I'm available for.
Hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that like you're finding what works for you today. You're not
Yeah.
ascribing like this is where I'm going to be forever. Maybe it is, but you don't know.
I don't know. And I'm open.
Yeah. Right. This is where
Yeah.
you're at today. This is what makes sense for in your phase of life and your healing journey and just where your life is. And I also one thing we often talk about is like setting the expectations of a connection and that can change over time too. But it sounds like
Right.
you are communicating to people at the beginning like, okay, this is what I'm available for. And if they then you're both opting in to that agreement, right? Rather than and setting that container up front and then I would imagine do like a check-in here and there too if that changes.
Right.
But I think doing it feels like you're intentionally getting off the relationship escalator and doing it in a relationship in a different way.
Yeah. Yeah. For a while, I was like, I put that romantic relationship, uh, too much focus on the romantic relationship. And now I'm just catching my breath. And I'm like, because I am part of the sex poly scene, I have my sexual needs met. I don't have to act like I'm starving and need to feel that in any certain way. So it feels like I have space to breathe and integrate and relax without feeling like I'm starving.
Yeah.
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 Well, I loved something you said earlier where the phrase, I think you said, I'm kind of afraid of commitment right now, or I'm avoiding commitment right now. And it caught my ear because that's one of the like memes you see floating around the internet all the time, is people accusing polyamorous people or non-monogamous people just where you're just afraid of commitment. And to even, I think there's a really valid point to say, hell yeah, I am. Like I am. And because I am, I'm relating to people in this way, and this is what it looks like. And it might change, it might not, but I can
Yeah.
I can be afraid of commitment and have healthy, ethical, meaningful relationships. Like those can both exist at the same time.
Absolutely. And it's not that I'm not committing, I am just committing to myself.
Hmm. Yeah.
And that feels really good for me where I am now.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Well, and I think people too also take commitment to mean that I'm committing to you for the next 50 years. But I can make a very committed agreement with somebody that like, hey, I'm going to check in with you every other week. Right. That's
Mhm.
still commitment. Right. I'm committing to show up and communicate in our partnership to find a way that works for us. That doesn't mean I have to go and sign a marriage certificate and
Yeah.
till death do us part. We can still be committed. It just doesn't have to be that type of a commitment.
Yeah, absolutely. And it feels like that's the inquiry I am in now. I am getting back to the commitment to myself and like, what is my desires? Where is my pleasure? What are my needs? And how do I want to get them met? Yeah, it feels like a fun investigation and taking that box out of the picture. Like, oh, it has to fit in this box. Um, I'm getting I'm
Yeah. Kicking that out the window.
Yeah.
kicking it out of the window. How else can we do this?
Yeah. Well, and I'd love to hear if you're open to sharing, like, what are some of the things you're learning about yourself in this time of like, what are you finding? Like, I love this. I love that. Maybe not a little bit of that, but like, what's coming alive for you in this?
Yeah, it's a good question. Let's see if I could put it into words. Yeah, I guess. Well, I could start off by saying my last relationship that ended a year ago kind of brought me down a depression spiral. And it got really dark because here is this human that wants to love me and is so committed to me. And I appreciate him so much. And we can't figure out how to make it work. So just the heaviness of all that dragged me into this abyss. And then after that, the universe played its tricks and snatched other things out of my life as well. So not only did I leave, my relationship ended, then there were internal changes in SoulPlay, this organization I've been building for 9 years. And so uncertainty about the SoulPlay's future. And then my van, my longest relationship, my home on wheels was stolen
No.
after being together for 13 years. So it felt like my identity, all these things who I thought I was just stripped from me. So really in the last 6 months, I have been trying to figure out like, okay, who am I without these pieces of my ego and identity? And in the midst of that, I'm 44 and starting to go through perimenopause, and my hormones are crazy, and my body, I just don't understand. And who I was 6 months ago or a year ago, I feel like a different person. So I don't know if I know how to answer that question yet of what I'm learning and who I am, because I feel like it's just so new.
Yeah. Well, and geez, the things
Yeah.
you just listed was to have your van stolen, your business shift, your relation, like everything. It was like everything that you moored yourself to just dissolved.
Poof.
Poof. And within a year.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow, Holly.
Yeah. That's a lot. So it's no wonder you're in the phase you're in right now. And actually, like, I also feel like d- it demonstrates, I think, so often uh when all of those, like when multiple things like that happen to people, it's easy to just try to fill the void, right? Just to
Mm.
try to jump back in. And I feel like you're intentionally trying not to do that, trying to be in this space with yourself. Does that feel accurate?
Yeah, yeah. My work, I am just very curious and always looking for something more. And that's how I left South Louisiana. That's how I found SoulPlay. There's a shadow and a light to everything. And part of this always wanting something more, if you look at the shadow, it kind of feels like constant dissatisfaction and striving for excellence, and just learning how to balance these things, like the yes and
Yeah.
in it.
Yeah. It's good enough, and I'm curious about more. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. I would love to talk to you a little, Holly, about the role for you that community has played in this journey. Because I mean, obviously Soul Play is a community of its own, and you've helped grow that. But you talked about, you landed in the community in Hawaii. That didn't really, maybe wasn't the right fit for you. But as you've started to find and grow and build your community around yourself, what has that looked like, and what has it done for you?
Hmm. Community really satisfies that need, so many needs, because I feel so disconnected with my birth family, and I can't have. Uh, they don't really fully know me because they can't talk at the depth. They can't meet me where I'm at.
Mhm.
So community is helping to fill that void, learning so much about all the different ways of relating and supporting each other. And so through my travels through Southeast Asia and New Zealand and Hawaii, uh, I went to intentional communities all along the way. And it looked different in every place. Like, is it all in one house? And is that what's called community? Is it all in one region, but we come together on a weekly basis? I think that is the one that made the most sense to me. So in Hawaii, on the Big Island where I lived, and it's definitely what I needed at the time to really feel held and get that sense of belonging and have my independence. So I ended up living alone most of the time, but it's a very small connected community. And I know so many people within a 10-minute radius of myself. And we would get together. This was in my big ecstatic dance part of my life. So that ecstatic dance and the Big Island were my community for a while. And that regular meeting together on Sunday mornings, it felt very spiritual. Just knowing no matter what happens during the week, on Sunday, we're all going to be together. And that aspect was very satisfying.
Yeah.
And when I moved to the Bay Area, I did that for a while with the Oakland dance scene. But after a while, something was missing. And, so when you get these needs met and it feels really good, you start to forget the other things and you just focus on this one little aspect of it. And maybe you miss the nuance of what it really is. So, all of this to say, like, it feels like it's constantly evolving what community is to me and for me.
Yeah. I love that, right? Because it's different phases of our lives. We need different things out of it, right? It could be, I need to live with these people and see them every day in the kitchen for dinner, or I need to live by myself and see them once a week, or what, right? And it's different times of our lives. It makes total sense. Yeah.
Yeah. And so for now, like, my community looks like these organizations that I'm a part of. Like, I go to Bonobo network parties and I learn so much from these people about how to ask for what you want, how to hold a boundary. So community is for learning for me. And with Soul Play, it's reminding me that sense of belonging and we're all in this together.
I love that.
Yeah.
Well, it may be a good time to transition into a little more about Soul Play.
Yeah, exactly.
And we can
fun.
we can always follow up with a few other questions after. But I would love to hear about maybe explaining what Soul
I was
Play
going to say,
is.
for anyone who doesn't know, which is probably a lot of people listening, what is Soul Play? Start there.
Yeah. Okay. So SoulPlay is an events organization in the basically, simply, but it's so much more than that. We package our events as a festival, but really it's more of a retreat. So we produce sober, workshop-based community gatherings and do so with different levels of safety so that people feel more comfortable approaching their edges and exploring deeper about themselves so that they might be their more fuller self and be able to connect with others more authentically. So we package it as a festival and this party, but really it's about finding your true self. And like when you find out more of these deeper aspects about yourself, the high and the transformation and the possibilities that comes from that that feeling leads to transformation and more possibilities in the rest of your life. So soul play is this. It's the gathering of these people who say yes to such an experience. Yes, I want to be deeper, be more true, be more real, be more full, be more accepting of myself and others. And when you get a community of people like that together, it just multiplies the buzz and the feeling and the excitement and the yes. It's like seeing what is possible, that better world that is possible when we come together and support each other.
Mhm, mhm. And that was that the vision at the very beginning?
Kind of. I think the vision at the very beginning, it was Romy Alon's vision, and I joined him soon after. And the way we would say it is we were a bridge into these other worlds and these other ways of exploring yourself. So if someone was curious about polyamory or sacred sexuality, instead of diving in like I did, you could come and try it out in this experiential playground that we create with SoulPlay. Let me try this modality, or let me try that, or let me see how someone is doing this. So at the beginning, we saw ourselves as a bridge to other ways.
Mhm,
Yeah.
mhm. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I
Yeah.
love that. And you can and that it's kind of shows that in the festival itself because you have different workshops, different experiences people can opt into and try out in that container that's an hour or two.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I will say we last year, just for anyone listening, like last year was Emma and I's first year going and had a wonderful time. And there's multiple different workshop spaces, big tents, and people like dancing, doing ecstatic dance. Everything you can imagine is happening, and people are just like embracing one another, embracing themselves. There's
And it's all optional,
it's
though.
all optional. Yeah, opt in, opt out. Yeah,
You can
it's
choose your
just
growth edge,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
Yeah,
It was
and that's
amazing.
part of it. We want people to get the confidence to like not just do what everyone else is doing, but really check in with yourself and like, what are you needing in this moment? Maybe you were really excited about this super sexy deep dive workshop, but you're feeling really tender. So maybe I should try this other thing instead. And so being real with yourself about where you are in your journey and where you are on your day, and there's other people in community that are on that same wavelength who are there for you. So you don't have to be attached to what you think you are or what you think you need. Be true to yourself and where you're at. And hey, there's going to be other people there with you.
Yeah.
You're not alone.
Yeah. I would just say too, there was moments for me last year that were the you find your edges, your growth edges sometimes in the weirdest places. And some of those for me were like, starting a workshop that I was excited about and then realizing 10 or 15 minutes in, like, okay, this isn't for me. And then probably spending 10 or 15 minutes debating how I can leave and if I should. And then, cause I'm in there like, okay, well, it's going to hurt their feelings, but then like to be able to say, okay, I've never left in the middle of a workshop that I've started. So I'm going to quietly, politely do that. And like, that was a big thing for me, right?
Yeah.
And so it's these moments that maybe you don't even recognize, like, okay, shit, I just did something for the first time that I've never done before.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
And slowing things down enough and creating enough safety nets and support that even if you do get hurt, even if you do get scared, you will make it through.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I love all this. I'd love to touch on one more piece of the festival that you said quickly and went right by, which is that it's a sober festival. And I think
Yeah.
that's maybe not something people hear often. And I'd love to understand like the reasoning or the intention behind that. And then maybe for anybody who's like, well, how the hell am I supposed to have fun if I can't do all the party drugs and drink and all
Oh,
of
yeah.
that?
Well, I love this. For one, we have nothing against psychedelics and drugs. Yay, find your pleasure and fun in any way. But there's just not enough places where the focus isn't on that.
Yep.
So, and the reason why we do it, not just because there's not enough places where that happens, but one, we're asking people to really go to their edges. And that's part of the safety net that we put in place. When you're going through these deep levels of consent, you want to make sure that the person you're doing this exchange with is true, knows what they're doing, and is really consenting. And that's hard to do when you're altered.
Yeah.
So one, it adds that level of safety. But another one that I think is even just as important is we are asking people to go to these edges and face some discomfort. And that joy you feel when you face that and you survive, and not only survive, like maybe you thrive, we don't want to cover up that feeling because that sensation is life. That sensation is what is going to transform us and help us do the things we really want to do, even outside of the festival. So while there are no drugs and like maybe these high moments, you actually get high from doing the work. To me, that kind of experience lasts much longer than a big trip of some sort.
Yeah. Well, right, because you can say, well, I just had this amazing experience and I was sober versus, well, in order to feel something like that, I must do this substance, or I can
Right.
only achieve that if I'm
Drink a lot.
doing this, right? Versus like, I'm like, oh, I tapped into that, I experienced that, and I was just me, completely sober, no chemicals other than all the high that comes from like dancing around the buzziness of all the people.
Right. It's empowering when it comes from you.
Yeah.
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 I love that.
Yeah. Yeah. And so if people want to join, and what's the best way they can do that?
Well, you could find out more information at www.soulplay.co.
Yep.
CO.
CO. And links are in the show notes for anybody.
I was going to say you also the festival is in California, and but you're doing some in June of 2025 this year.
Mhm.
But you're doing some other events leading up to that in the Bay Area, correct?
Yeah, for sure. It is one thing that me and Misha Bonaventura, my new business partner and owner in SoulPlay, it is a lot of work to produce a festival. And for me, it is just not satisfying enough to put 6 or 7 months of your life into something that is over for 4 days. So for me, it is about community. It's about inspiration and bringing community together. So I want more touch points. I want more reminders of how awesome this community is and more ways and opportunities for us to support each other and see each other. So yes, we are doing more events in the Bay Area. In March, we have 2 events back to back. On March 8th, we are doing we're calling it the watering hole. And you could picture the safari of all the different animals coming together to drink water from this watering hole. And we are inviting single people or solo people without an anchor partner who is maybe wanting to move in that direction. And it will be filled with somatic exercises. Rachel Rickards, who normally lives in Europe, we're so honored to have her come and visit and lead this. And so it will be an awesome exploration into relating. And on top of that, we'll just keep on getting saucier and saucier and closer as the day goes on. It starts with all this vulnerable relating, and then we have Kimberly Hahn joining us for almost kissing, the art of almost kissing. And it's one of my favorites. Just the anticipation that could build and how long can you prolong this yummy, juicy moment. And then we'll end with a dance party. So that will be bringing all this juiciness to the dance floor. So that's happening on March 8th. On March 9th, we have our second Sunday sofa sessions. So there's a venue here in near downtown Berkeley. I went, it hosts live music, and I went there one night, and the venue is filled with couches, and it's so cozy, and the acoustics are so good. And as I was sitting to see this performance, I was like, I want to fill these couches with all my friends. So I created this concert series that takes place on the second Sundays of every month. And it's just a way for us to casually come together and get our hearts massaged a little bit and see each other. You know, it's not one of these events that are really flashy and like you have to come with certain masks or costumes on. You could just come and relax and be held in community. And that's what Second Sunday Sofa Sessions is about. So
Awesome.
That was amazing.
Yeah.
I just love too, you said, you're like, I was in a place and I saw it and I was like, okay, now I need to make this my place. And I was just like, so many of those moments as Emma and I move through the world and we're in a building or in a room or at an event and we're looking around like, all right, how can we take this place over and make it ours? It's almost everywhere we go that happens.
Yeah.
So I love that.
Yeah. Yeah. And then you do something about it. That's
Yeah.
so cool.
Yeah.
Amazing. Well, thank you for all of the amazing work you're doing. And again, links to all of your stuff will be in the show notes. And just, thank you, Holly, for being here. And before we let you go today, we just wanted to see, is there anything else you wanted to shout out into the world while you've got the microphone to do so?
No, I can't think of anything else to add. I feel good.
Wonderful.
Good. Yeah. Thank you so much for this conversation. And
Yeah.
we're excited to see you at SoulPlay in June.
Yeah. Yeah. Second weekend in June, June 12th through 15th.
We will be there, and we hope listeners, some of you, make it out as well. So
Yes.
Yeah. Awesome.
with that, have a wonderful day, Holly, and we will talk soon.
Yeah. Thank you.
And we are back. Thank you so much, Holly, for everything you shared today and for the amazing work that you do. We're so excited to join you at SoulPlay in just a few weeks.
Yeah, please, everyone else listening, come join us at SoulPlay. And a quick reminder, if you use the links in the show notes, you get to save $100 off of your ticket up until April 19th. So please go and do that, and we'll see you there.
Yes. And just a quick reminder, SoulPlay is June 12th to the 15th, 2025.
We have one other quick date we want to tell you all about. That date is actually tonight, April 9th, if you're listening to this on the day this came out. We told you in the intro that we have virtual workshops that are now included in the community cost. And the next workshop is actually tonight. It is hosted by Dr. Evelyn Dacker. It is on her Stars Talk. We would love to have you come join us, but hey, if you're like, well, what the hell, man, you didn't tell us in time, I can't make it. Don't worry. You can get the recording to all of the workshops that have happened up until this point, also included in your membership of our community. So come check out the community, check out the workshop tonight, and we'll see you there.
Next week, we have an interview with Sonia and Gabe. They were last on the podcast back in episode 193. So you can go back and listen and join us next week for an update on their story. It's a pretty great conversation.
It's pretty high energy.
It is very high energy.
Cannot wait. We'll see you all in a week.
Bye, everyone. Thanks for listening.